Arvind, thank you very much for being here with us. You are a leading developer in Bangalore in the resi sector, very hot sector at the moment. What's the overview you can give us about the market?
Well, thanks, Gustavo, for having me. Like you said, Resi is hot right now. As Brigade, we're actually present in all major asset classes of real estate. So we're in Resi, we're in office, malls, hotels. We have clubs, we have conventions, we have schools, and we're now getting into warehousing. So from our perspective, we're in multiple asset classes throughout, and we're trying to grow all of them at more or less the same pace. While Resi is leading the pack right now, that as you know, real estate is cyclical. That can change anytime. So while the going is good, we're betting heavily on Resi and on the other classes as well.
Perfect. And what sets you apart from other companies? Is there anything specific about Brigade that you would like to share with us?
Sure. There are a few things. So one, Brigade is really into developing mixed-used asset classes. So our flagship, which is Brigade Gateway in Bangalore, is what I like to call a 7x development. So we have a mall, residential, we have office, we have a school, we have a club, we have a hospital, in the campus. So that's something that we like to do. We like to, pick up land and then go in with multiple asset classes, so that we de-risk any one asset class from bringing the whole project down. So we like to do at least 3 or 4 asset classes. So that's one thing that separates us from the pack. The other thing is that our portfolio is a combination of um, real estate or office spaces that is owned by Brigade as a listed entity, along with our landowners, obviously, and then we also sell to investors, end users. So while we continue to manage the portfolio, some of it is owned by our investors or end users who like to either hold it and then we manage the leasing for them, or they like to operate from the premises while owning the space as well. So some of the developers, like to hold everything and then only lease, but we also sell. So that's something that we do a little differently, which helps us to deleverage and to get the cash back from the portfolio, including office as well. Otherwise, what largely happens is office space has a larger cycle where you develop, you lease, and then you try to exit. So that's something that's again a little bit different from most players.
We see that the market in general, not just in Bangalore, but in many cities in India, the developers, the investors, lenders, everybody's very active and positive. But there's always risk involved in this activity. We saw that in the past and nowadays. Is there anything that would keep you up at night at the moment?
Not specifically, but in general, the availability of land, which is the basic raw material that I need. You can't build buildings in the air, so land is the basic raw material that you need, and that is something that you have to constantly look out for. So that's one thing that we need to concentrate on, building up the land pipeline in order to serve our growth. The other thing, obviously, is to get it in the right locations, because while all cities are growing, all micro markets in any given city are not growing at the same pace. Activity, especially from corporates and end user clients and ITES, who's the mainstay of commercial real estate in the South Indian cities, especially, do get and start to get concentrated into certain zones. Like, for example, if I talk about Bangalore, you've got Outer Ring Road, you've got Whitefield, and now you've got North Bangalore. So activity starts to get concentrated, and therefore you need to take positions or make bets in those zones and be smart about it. So that's another thing that everybody needs to do, including us.
Now let's talk about lessons that you have learned in the last few years in real estate.
Sure.
If you had to choose one single lesson or one thing you learned from either exchanging ideas with others or by passing through a situation, what's the main lesson you have learned in the last few years and that has been guiding you to do so well in your business?
Well, the main lesson is that any developer that wants to survive the way we've survived 30 35 years and keep on growing, the main lesson I would say is to diversify. and diversify, in multiple aspects. One is asset classes, obviously. So diversification in asset classes is important because at any given point of time, in whichever asset classes you're there, one or two might be growing, the others may not, and that will change. So for example, if you take say 13 to 19, it was office all the way, and then COVID hit, and then it became resi, and now hospitality, picked up big time. Retail has picked up big time. I mean, if you look at the Nexus REIT, it's doing really well. So these asset classes keep switching, and real estate is cyclical. So that is something that you need to do. The more asset classes that you can be in, the more breadth you can bring to the table, the more resilient you are, the more dominating you can be, and the more risk averse you're allowed to be. For example, if you're only in the office asset class, then there are certain things that you need to do which cannot be supported by any other business. Right now, if you look at for Brigade, sometimes the resi supports the office business and the hospitality business, or the retail or the hospitality will support the other businesses, or the office supports the resi business. So by having multiple asset classes, you can keep on growing with whichever asset class is the flavor of the day. So that helps.
Which means don't keep all the eggs in the same
Absolutely,
basket.
absolutely.
A final question. We talk about lessons learned from the past, and it's a very smart one you mentioned. But let's look at the future now. With so many strategies in place for Brigade and with the market the way it is, what's the dream for the company? Where do you see the company in 5 years?
So, like I said, we want to grow all our asset classes. By 2030, we want to be at a certain level in office. We have certain targets that we've put for ourselves in terms of residential, in terms of hospitality, in terms of office. There are also targets in terms of where we want to be on the sustainability side. For example, we've committed that by 2045, we will be net zero as a company, right? So apart from the growth targets, we've also set ourselves sustainability targets, right? Because if you're going to do something, you might as well go the full cycle and do it properly. And this is not something that we take lightly. We're really making strides towards this. For example, our first project that is going to be going towards complete zero emissions and net zero is a project called Brigade Twin Towers, which is in the northwest of Bangalore. So that project we've taken up, and we've said, we'll make this one net zero in terms of energy, in terms of water, all of that. And then we're piloting that, and that we'll take it forward. So, while business targets are there for 2030, 2035, these are some of the sustainability targets also that we're taking. So we're making strides in multiple facets of the business, and we'd like to continue doing that.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Gustavo. Thanks for having me. Thank you.